Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the World Class Championship Wrestling Review Series, and I am caught up. Probably going to have at least another couple of months here today for you. I hope that's the plan, anyway. But we are at the end of July 1986, and there is lots of news, or at least one major news story coming out of this episode, and that is the world class debut of the Dingo Warrior. It snorts, it snarls, its face is painted, and it's managed by Gary Hart. It is the Dingo Warrior. Dingo Warrior and Matt Bourne versus the U.S. Express. Back to using that name for the Batten twins. Don't quite know what that's about. Bourne is not the guy that I would imagine would be the partner for the Dingo Warrior. So that's a surprise to me. This is my first time seeing the Dingo in the world class territory. Of course, he comes into Memphis, I believe, in 1985. So, somewhere in the first year of the Warrior is this exchange. Warrior in the WWF by sometime in 87. So, he's here for several months, but not a terribly long time. Anyway, big hip toss by one of the Battens and an arm drag by the Batten. Obviously, this match meant to be a showcase for the Warrior, I would assume. Not that you know are showcasing a rookie, but more so. I can't imagine somebody bringing the Warrior in and not seeing dollars, even though he wasn't the most athletic fellow. I could certainly see where even a Fritz von Erich would see a big deal out of that. Anyway, speaking of big deals, monkey flip by one of the Battens on Matt Bourne, and Bourne is doing the majority of bump and feed because when the Warrior gets in there, obviously, house will be cleaned. And the baby faces have control for a bit. Warrior coming into the ring is going to, I assume, spell the end of the contest. Anyway, inverted atomic drop by Bourne out of the corner. Bourne cleans up the ring a bit. Warrior finally gets in. Big vicious chop by the Warrior and a choke hold, kind of a elevated choke. Warrior taking out both guys. Hits his famous military press and drops the guy straight. Bourne tag back in. Bourne grabs the victory for his team, but the Warrior does the cleanup work. Gary Hart gives Bruiser Brody what he wants, says he'll pay him $10,000, says he's bringing the Warrior with him, Dingo Warrior with him, and thanks to Dingo Warrior, Warrior snarls and growls and makes lots of noise during the promo. Doesn't say any real actual words, maybe than yes or no. But anyway, that's where that goes. Rick Rude and Mark Youngblood, your next match up. They also do a couple of highlight packages here. Matches seem shorter these days here in World Class. I don't know if that's by design, if that's by edit, if they're trying to get something kind of smoke and mirror stuff. I don't really know what that's about. Anyway, Percy Pringle happy with, I guess, where Rude's at, for lack of better terminology. Rude goes right after Youngblood. Seems a little more aggressive than he was the previous week. And Youngblood, though, manages to hold the ropes, and Rude goes flying off a big dropkick attempt that does not go according to plan. Instead, Youngblood hits a dropkick of his own. Big snap suplex by Rude gets things going in his direction. Hot shot by Rude across the top turnbuckle. And then Rick Rude breaks the match down into much slower times in terms of a kind of that reversed the chin lock there. Anyway, Youngblood being made to look competitive with Rude does not make sense to my brain. Less than a month after Rude loses the championship to Chris Adams, but maybe they have a plan that I don't understand or I'm not meant to. Meanwhile, Youngblood goes to the top rope and misses a top rope body splash. Russian leg sweep for Rude gets the victory this week, so doesn't use the DDT as he normally does. Percy Pringle very happy with that solution. Highlight match up next of Brian Adias and Bart Sawyer and Brody and Abdullah, not in anything other than singles competition, clipped together. Sawyer with a backbreaker shown here. Sawyer gets beat down for several minutes. Adias kind of holding on to his own, manages to hold out and stand and brawl with Sawyer, which is a big deal at the time, and does get a victory off of I believe, suplex going wrong, or basically a back suplex, gets the victory off that, able to roll the shoulder. Then we see clips of Brody and Abdullah. I think that's what everyone would want to see there. But anyhow, that is what you'd expect. Brawl all the way around. Brody takes care of Abdullah. This is not the version I have seen because what I saw was better lit than what I'm seeing. Anyway, Abdullah has the assistance of Gary Hart. Meanwhile, literally, there's only a few seconds of this shown, maybe a minute or two at most. Anyway, one of the Von Erichs makes his way out to try to help Bruiser Brody, Von Erich being brought in the hard way. Meanwhile, Abdullah was stabbing at Brody with a fork, among other objects. Nothing really gets settled there. Kevin Von Erich and Buzz Sawyer is your next match. Von Erich, obviously, a big deal in the area, and Buzz Sawyer mocks him before the match, doing some microphone work, basically saying he's going to put an end to the Von Erichs, as everyone threatens to do. A inside cradle by Kevin Early does not get a victory, but does send a message to Buzz Sawyer that he means business. Sawyer heads to the outside in a hurry, and that breaks the match down even further. Sawyer goes back to the outside after coming back in. They brawl on the floor for a while. Kevin actually gets the claw on Sawyer for a minute, and Sawyer is aggravated and gets sent to the outside. Kevin Von Erich manages to draw some blood. There's a break in the action. We see Sawyer actually headbutting a wall, and the match is stopped by the official. Nothing really settled there. We go to the main event tag match. Tim Brooks and grappler number 2 versus Steve Simpson and Bruiser Brody. Interesting main event just because it's kind of awkward. Not really a match that a lot of people would imagine to want to see. But anyway, Brody and Brooks start off early. That turns into a bit of more of a wrestling match than one would imagine. Headlocks by Brooks and the like. I would have imagined they would have gone completely to the brawling early, but they did not. Simpson tagged in. Match slows down even further. Brooks uses his power early, and Brody waiting anxiously on the outside. Interesting that they're putting Steve Simpson in with Bruiser Brody as a partner. Also, the second grappler comes into the ring. That's where the more wrestling style breaks down. Brody and Brooks back in. That turns into basically a choke battle, among other, more strike-based holds. They cut off the ring on Brody for a few minutes. Although Brody, again, doesn't go down. You notice when Brody goes down, it's a big deal. Big boot in the corner on the grappler by Brody. Brody goes and uses his power and drops the grappler in a body slam, and then a bouncing pile driver. When I say bouncing, in that sportatorium ring, would not have been fun to take a pile driver in that ring. Brooks comes in. Simpson tries to cut things off. Simpson and Brooks are legal once again. Brooks takes over for a little bit. Tag back to the grappler. Grappler gets the match back on the ground. Meanwhile, Brooks looks on anxiously from the ringside area because he does not believe that his partner has things quick at hand. We then see Brody back in legally, nailing the grappler with a big boot to the head, and then we see a tag to Steve Simpson. Simpson all for the high cross body, 1, 2, and 3, and Simpson is victorious for his team as we close the month of July here in World Class in 1986. We'll be back with more action right after this.